The call came during my morning shift at the café, right as I was trying to balance 3 cappuccinos on a tray. I almost dropped everything when I saw my father's name on the screen. He never called during work hours, that was our deal. My heart started racing before I even answered. My name is Alara, and until that morning, I thought I had my life pretty well figured out. Junior year of college, decent grades, and a part-time job that kept me in coffee and textbooks. Sure, things weren't perfect, but they were stable. At least that's what I thought. Hello. I tucked the phone between my ear and shoulder, setting down the drinks at table 7. It wasn't my father's voice that responded. Alara, dear. The saccharine tone of my stepmother, Serafina, made my stomach clench. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. I'm at work, I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. 3 years of practice had taught me how to handle these conversations. Is everything okay with Dad? Oh, your father is fine. She paused, and I could practically see her perfectly manicured nails drumming against our kitchen counter. I'm calling about the monthly support payments. The world tilted slightly. Those payments were my lifeline, covering rent, utilities, and part of my tuition. Dad had promised they'd continue until I graduated, his way of supporting my decision to live off campus. What about them? Well, dear, we've had some unexpected expenses come up. Your father and I have been discussing our finances, and we've decided it's time for you to become more independent. The payments will stop at the end of this month. The cappuccinos on table 7 grew cold as I stood there frozen. Does Dad? Did he agree to this? Of course he did. He's very proud of how responsible you've become. We both think you're ready to handle things on your own. My coworker Jude caught my eye from behind the counter, pointing at the growing line of customers. I held up one finger, trying to process what I was hearing. Can I talk to Dad? He's in meetings all day. Very busy with the new project. Serafina's voice softened with false sympathy. I know this might seem sudden, but you're a big girl now. 21 is plenty old enough to stand on your own 2 feet. I wanted to scream that this wasn't about age. It was about promises. About trust. About the agreement Dad and I had made before I chose my college and mapped out my future. Instead, I swallowed hard and said, right? Thanks for letting me know. I'm so glad you understand. Oh, and Alara. Her tone shifted slightly, almost triumphant. We'd appreciate it if you didn't bother your father about this. He's under enough stress as it is. The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at my phone, noticing my hands were shaking. Earth to Alara. Jude appeared beside me, coffee pot in hand. You okay? You look like you just saw a ghost. I'm fine, I said automatically, but my voice cracked on the second word. Yeah, and I'm the Queen of England. He studied my face. Take 5 minutes. I'll cover your tables. I retreated to the break room, did some quick math on my phone's calculator, and felt my chest tighten. Even with my cafe wages, I'd be short on rent next month. Tuition payments loomed like storm clouds on the horizon. As I splashed cold water on my face, I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Something in my expression had changed, hardened. Maybe. Dad might have agreed to cut me off, but I knew Serafina's fingerprints were all over this decision. The same way they'd been all over every major change in our family for the past 3 years. Fine. If she wanted me to be independent, I'd show her independent. But first, I needed to figure out what was really going on with Dad's finances and why Serafina was so eager to keep me from talking to him about it. I pulled my hair back into a tight ponytail and straightened my apron. I had 4 hours left in my shift to start planning my next move. And for the first time since Serafina entered our lives, I felt something beyond hurt and confusion. I felt angry. I spent that night going through old photos on my laptop, searching for something I couldn't quite name. Maybe closure. Maybe answers. The images flickered across my screen like scenes from someone else's life, Dad and me at my high school graduation, both of us grinning like idiots. His arm around my shoulders, my mortarboard slightly crooked. 3 years felt like 3 decades. My phone buzzed. Myra's name lit up the screen. Please tell me you're not still obsessing over those photos, she said when I answered. I'm not obsessing. I clicked through another image, Dad's wedding to Serafina. My smile in that one looked more like a grimace. I'm investigating. Same thing. Listen, I talked to my roommate. She's moving out next month to live with her boyfriend, so her room's yours if you want it. Way cheaper than your current place. I paused on a photo from Christmas 2 years ago. Dad had fallen asleep on the couch, and Serafina sat beside him, scrolling through her phone. Something about her expression made me uneasy, like she was plotting rather than relaxing. Alara? You still there? Yeah, sorry. I closed my laptop. Are you sure about the room? I don't want to impose. Stop it. You're not imposing, you're saving me from having to interview random strangers from Craigslist. Plus, you make the best coffee in town. That's just because I steal beans from work. See? You're already the perfect roommate. Criminal tendencies and all. I laughed, but it felt hollow. Moving in with Mira would solve my immediate housing crisis, but it felt like admitting defeat. Like proving Serafina right about my inability to stand on my own. I need to think about it, I said finally. Well, think fast. Term starts in 3 weeks and Mira stopped mid-sentence. Oh shit, speaking of term, have you checked your student account lately? My stomach dropped. No, why? There's some issue with the financial aid office. Everyone's getting emails about verification or something. I scrambled to open my laptop again, this time logging into my student portal. Sure enough, there was a notification, additional documentation required for financial aid processing. This can't be happening, I muttered, clicking through the requirements. They needed updated bank statements, tax returns, and my heart nearly stopped, my father's financial information. What's wrong? They need Dad's signature on some forms. And his tax returns. I ran a hand through my hair, tugging at the roots. How am I supposed to get those without telling him what's happening? Maybe this is a sign that you should tell him. You don't understand. If I tell him, Serafina will twist it around somehow. Make it seem like I'm being ungrateful or trying to cause problems. I thought about the way she looked at me during that last family dinner. Like I was an inconvenience she couldn't quite figure out how to handle. I need to handle this myself. By doing what, exactly? Before I could answer, another call came through, Dad's number. My finger hovered over the accept button. Mira, I have to go. Dad's calling. Good. Talk to him. I ended the call with Mira and took a deep breath before answering. Hey, Dad. Princess. How's my favorite daughter? The familiar nickname hit like a punch to the gut. I'm your only daughter, Dad. Still my favorite. He chuckled, and for a moment, he sounded like his old self. Listen, Serafina mentioned she talked to you about the finances. Here it was. My chance to ask him directly, to challenge what Serafina had told me. But something in his voice, a weariness I'd never heard before, made me hesitate. Yeah, she did. I kept my voice steady. It's fine, Dad. I understand. That's my girl. Always so independent. He paused. You know I'm proud of you, right? The words felt like ash in my mouth. Thanks, Dad. I have to go, early shift tomorrow. After hanging up, I stared at my reflection in the darkened laptop screen. The girl looking back at me seemed different from the one in those old photos, harder, more determined. I opened my phone and texted Mira, I'll take the room. Then I started making a list. If I was going to figure out what Serafina was really up to, I needed more than just suspicions. I needed proof. And I knew exactly where to start looking. Moving day with Mira should have been my biggest concern, but life had other plans. I was sorting through my old room at Dad's house. He and Serafina were supposed to be at some charity lunch, when I heard voices drifting up from the backyard patio. The market's been good to us, Serafina was saying. We could easily get another 100,000 out of the investment account. I froze, box of college textbooks in my arms. Investment account? Dad had always said he kept everything in his checking and retirement funds. I don't know, honey. Dad's voice sounded strained. That money was meant for what? Alara? She's handling things just fine on her own. You said so yourself. I set the box down silently and crept closer to the window. Through the gaps in the blinds, I could see them sitting at the patio table. Serafina wore one of her designer sundresses, the kind that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Besides, she continued, the contractor needs the deposit by Friday if we want to start the renovation next month. Renovation? I thought about my student loan applications, still sitting incomplete on my laptop. The house is fine as it is, Dad said, but his tone had that familiar weakness to it. The same one he'd had when Serafina convinced him to sell Mom's old piano. Darling, we talked about this. If we're going to host the holiday party for your firm's partners, everything needs to be perfect. She reached across the table, touching his hand. Don't you want to make a good impression? This could mean a partnership for you. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably Mira wondering where I was. But I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. You're right, Dad sighed. You're always right about these things. Of course I am. Serafina's laugh tinkled like broken glass. I'll call the contractor today. Oh, and we should look at updating my car while the market's good. The lease is almost up, and I saw the most gorgeous Mercedes yesterday. I backed away from the window, my hands shaking. The investment account. The renovations. The new car. Meanwhile, I was working double shifts and eating ramen to make ends meet. My phone buzzed again. This time I answered. Where are you? Mira asked. Jude and I have been waiting with the truck for 20 minutes. Something came up. My voice sounded strange, even to me. I need to check something first. Check what? Alara, what's going on? I was already moving down the hallway toward Dad's home office. Remember how Dad used to let me handle some of his online banking? Back when Mom was sick. Yeah. I wonder if those login credentials still work. Alara, Myra's voice held a warning. Whatever you're thinking. I'll be there soon. I hung up before she could talk me out of it. Dad's computer hummed to life. My hands hovered over the keyboard as doubt crept in. This wasn't just snooping. This was probably illegal. But then I remembered Serafina's casual mention of another 100,000 while I was drowning in financial aid forms. The old password worked on the third try. Within minutes, I was staring at account statements I'd never seen before. Investment accounts, hidden savings, and, oh my God, I whispered. There it was, a recurring monthly transfer to my old account, the one Dad had set up for my college expenses. The same amount as always, every month like clockwork. The money hadn't stopped at all. It was being redirected to an account in Serafina's name. Footsteps on the stairs sent me scrambling to close windows and shut down the computer. I barely made it back to my room before I heard them in the hallway. Oh. Serafina's surprise sounded perfectly rehearsed when she saw me. We didn't know you were here, dear. Just getting the last of my things. I hefted the box of textbooks, grateful it hid my trembling hands. Dad smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Need any help? No thanks. I managed a tight smile. I've got it under control. And I did. For the first time since this whole mess started, I knew exactly what I was dealing with. The question now was, what was I going to do about it? As I walked past Serafina, she gave me one of her practiced smiles. She had no idea I'd just discovered her secret. No idea what was coming. That would change soon enough. The bank statement felt heavy in my hands as I sat in Myra's living room, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes. 3 months of redirected payments, each one a betrayal in neat, digital numbers. My fingers traced the routing information, memorizing Serafina's account details like a battle plan. You need to tell your dad, Mira said, perched on the arm of the couch. This is literally theft. It's not that simple. I folded the paper carefully, tucking it into my laptop case. If I go to him now, Serafina will just spin some story about protecting the money for my future, or whatever garbage she's good at making up. My phone lit up with a text from Jude. Your stepmother's here. Ordering your usual table's worth of fancy lattes. I sat up straighter. Serafina never came to my side of town unless she wanted something. The cafe was only 2 blocks away. I have to go, I said, already reaching for my shoes. Mira grabbed my arm. Wait, what are you planning? Nothing. I just need to see something. The walk to the cafe felt like crossing a battlefield. Through the front window, I could see Serafina holding court at my regular table, her designer handbag occupying the chair where I usually sat. Jude caught my eye as I entered, giving me a subtle nod. Alara, Serafina's voice carried across the cafe. What a lovely surprise. Join me. Several customers turned to watch as I approached the table. Serafina's smile never wavered, but her fingers tightened around her cup. I was just telling your charming coworker about our renovation plans, she said as I sat down. Your father is so excited about the new kitchen. I bet he is. I kept my voice neutral, watching her face. Must be expensive. Oh, you know how these things are. She waved her hand dismissively. but we're being very careful with our finances. Speaking of which, she leaned forward, lowering her voice. I noticed you were in the house yesterday when we came home. My heart skipped, but I forced myself to meet her gaze. Just getting the last of my things. Of course. She took a sip of her latte, leaving a perfect lipstick print on the rim. You know, your father mentioned something interesting this morning. Apparently, his computer showed some unusual login activity yesterday. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Behind the counter, Jude was very deliberately not looking our way. Really? I said, proud of how steady my voice sounded. Serafina's smile turned sharp at the edges. We changed all the passwords, of course. Just to be safe. You understand. Completely. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Is that all you wanted to tell me? She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. Actually, I brought you something. A little housewarming gift. Inside was a check for $5,000. Consider it a fresh start, she said softly. A chance to prove you really can be independent, without needing to investigate things that don't concern you. The check burned in my hands. $5,000, enough to cover next semester's tuition deposit, with some left over for books. All I had to do was take it and walk away. That's very generous, I said, carefully placing the check on the table. But I think I'll stick with my current plan. And what plan is that? The warmth had vanished from her voice. I guess you'll find out. I turned and walked away, my legs shaking but my head high. Behind me, I heard the sharp click of Serafina's heels as she stood. Your father won't believe you, she called after me. He never does. I paused at the door, looking back at her perfectly composed face. We'll see about that. Outside, the afternoon sun felt too bright, too harsh. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Smart girl. But this won't end well for anyone. Think about your father. I took a screenshot of the message before blocking the number. Serafina thought she was warning me off, but she just made a crucial mistake. She'd shown me she was scared. Now I just had to figure out exactly what she was scared of. I found the first letter while helping Jude sort through old mail at the cafe. It was addressed to my father, postmarked 3 months ago, from his company's accounting department. My hands trembled as I slid it into my apron pocket. You know that's a federal offense, right? Jude said, but his eyes were kind. Added to my growing list of crimes. I tied my hair back, preparing for the morning rush. Did you know Serafina's been coming in every day this week? Yeah, always when you're not here. Asking weird questions about your schedule, your friends. He hesitated. Your dad came in yesterday too. My stomach lurched. What? Why didn't you tell me? Because he looked terrible, Alara. Like he hasn't slept in days. He kept asking if you seemed okay, if you needed anything. The morning crowd started filtering in before I could respond. As I worked the espresso machine, my mind raced. Dad never came to this part of town unless he had to. And he definitely never checked up on me through other people. During my break, I opened the letter. Inside was a notice about unauthorized changes to Dad's retirement account beneficiaries. All funds had been redirected to a single beneficiary, Serafina. My phone buzzed a text from Mira. 911. Your stepmom's at our apartment. I nearly dropped the phone. What? Why? Says she's dropping off more of your stuff. But she's just sitting here, asking questions about your classes, your study habits. It's creepy. Don't tell her anything. I'm on my way. Wait, there's something else. She mentioned your mom. I froze halfway through untying my apron. What about her? Something about your mom's old medical bills. Said your dad's still paying them off. That couldn't be right. Mom's insurance had covered everything. I'd helped with the paperwork myself. Get her out of there, I texted back. I don't care how. Just get her to leave. Alara. Jude's voice made me jump. He was holding out a fancy envelope. She left this for you this morning. Said it was important. Inside was an invitation to Dad's firm's holiday party, scheduled for next month. A handwritten note in Serafina's elegant script read, "Families should stick together. Last chance to make the right choice." I need to leave early, I said, crumpling the invitation. Already cleared it with management. Jude grabbed my bag from under the counter. But first, there's something you should see. He pulled up a social media post on his phone, a photo from one of Dad's colleagues. It showed Serafina at some charity event last week, wearing a diamond necklace that looked eerily familiar. Isn't that your mom's? Jude zoomed in on the image. You showed me a picture once, remember? The necklace had been my grandmother's, passed down to Mom. Dad had kept it in his office safe after she died, promising it would be mine someday. My vision blurred. She's not just stealing money. She's erasing everything. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a call from Dad. As I stared at his name on the screen, another text from Mira came through. She's going through your room, looking for something specific. The letter about the retirement account felt heavy in my pocket. Whatever Serafina was searching for, she was getting desperate. And desperate people made mistakes. I'm not answering, I said, declining Dad's call. Not yet. Alara. Jude's voice held a warning. I know what I'm doing. I hoped I sounded more confident than I felt. She wants to play family? Fine. Tell her I'll be at the holiday party. And then what? I thought about Mom's necklace, about the redirected payments, about Dad's exhausted face asking strangers if I was okay. Then I show everyone exactly who Serafina really is. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door, starting with what's in that safe. As I left, my phone buzzed one final time. A text from an unknown number. You're just like your mother. She didn't know when to stop either. The threat was clear. But Serafina had made a crucial mistake. She'd mentioned Mom's medical bills, files I knew better than anyone. Now I just had to prove what I'd suspected all along. Those bills she claimed Dad was still paying didn't exist at all. The hospital records were gone. Not just misplaced or misfiled, completely erased from the system. I sat in my old volunteer coordinator's office, staring at the empty search results on her computer screen. I'm sorry, Alara, Susan said, genuine concern in her voice. The records from your Mother's Day should be here, but… She gestured helplessly at the screen. It's like they never existed. My hands clenched in my lap. When was the last system update? 3 months ago. She checked her calendar. Right after that new privacy compliance initiative. The same time Serafina had started redirecting Dad's payments. The same time she'd begun talking about Mom's supposed ongoing medical bills. My phone buzzed, Dad calling again. 4th time today. I silenced it just as Myra's text came through. Police just left our apartment. Someone reported suspicious activity. The fluorescent lights suddenly felt too bright, the office too small. Thanks, Susan. I need to go. Outside, the November wind cut through my jacket. I'd spent my entire weekend searching for proof, bank statements, insurance records, anything to show what Serafina was really doing with Dad's money. But she'd been thorough, erasing evidence faster than I could find it. My phone rang again. Jude this time. She's here, he said without preamble. At the café. With your dad. My heart stopped. What? They're asking about you. About whether you've seemed unstable lately. She's showing him something on her phone, texts or emails, I think. Of course. All my desperate searches, my clumsy attempts at investigation. She'd been tracking everything, building her case while I built mine. Don't go back to your apartment, Jude continued. Mira says they took your laptop. They what? My voice cracked. All my screenshots, the bank statements, the letter about the retirement account, everything was on that laptop. Your stepmom suggested it. Said she's worried about your mental health, that you've been obsessing over conspiracy theories about her. I leaned against a nearby wall, suddenly dizzy. What did Dad say? He looked convinced. Alara, I think you need to. The call dropped. My phone screen went black, then lit up with a final message from an unknown number. Check your bank account. With trembling fingers, I pulled up my banking app. My modest savings, my carefully budgeted checking account, both completely empty. A single transaction note appeared on each, account frozen pending investigation. My vision blurred. Without that money, I couldn't pay for next semester. Couldn't buy groceries. Couldn't even buy a bus ticket home if I wanted to. A new text from Mira. They're saying you hacked your dad's accounts. That you're the one who's been stealing money. Serafina has proof. Of course she did. She'd probably been planning this since the day I discovered those transfers, waiting for me to make exactly these moves. Every attempt I'd made to expose her had only given her more ammunition. My phone rang one final time, Dad again. This time I answered. Princess, His voice was soft, worried. We need to talk about what's been going on. Dad, whatever she told you. I've seen the evidence, sweetheart. The unauthorized account access, the obsessive behavior, the paranoid accusations. He sighed heavily. I know losing your mom was hard, but this isn't the way to handle it. This isn't about Mom. But even as I said it, I realized that's exactly what Serafina wanted him to think, that I was just a grieving daughter. Lashing out at my stepmother, inventing conspiracies to cope with loss. Come home, he said. We'll get you help. There's a great therapist that Serafina knows. I hung up, sliding down the wall until I hit the sidewalk. She'd won. Everything I'd tried to prove had been turned against me, making me look exactly like what she'd claimed, an unstable, jealous kid who couldn't accept her new stepmother. My phone lit up with one final message from Serafina herself. The holiday party is tomorrow night. Come home now, apologize publicly, and this all goes away. Or don't, and see what happens next. Your choice, dear. I stared at the message until the screen went dark, reflecting my own defeated face back at me. She'd taken everything. My money, my credibility, my relationship with Dad. Everything except my next move. The holiday party buzzed with forced laughter and clinking glasses. I stood in the entrance of Dad's renovated living room, wearing Mom's old black dress, watching Serafina hold court near the fireplace. Mom's necklace glittered at her throat. You came. Jude appeared beside me, looking uncomfortable in his borrowed suit. Are you sure about this? I clutched my phone tighter, feeling the weight of the email I'd just received. Did you bring what I asked for? He slipped a USB drive into my hand. Security footage from the cafe. Every conversation she's had there for the past month. Alara. Dad's voice boomed across the room. He hurried over, relief evident on his face. I'm so glad you decided to. Is that my necklace? The words came out sharper than I intended, cutting through the party chatter. The room quieted. Serafina touched the diamonds at her throat, her smile never wavering. Wyatt gave it to me, dear. A birthday present. Really? I pulled out my phone. That's not what the insurance company says. Her smile flickered. Dad looked between us, confusion creasing his forehead. What are you talking about? The necklace was reported stolen 3 months ago. I held up my phone showing the email, along with several other pieces of Mom's jewelry. The claim was filed under your name, Dad. But you didn't file it, did you? Serafina. Dad turned to his wife. What is she talking about? She's obviously confused again. Serafina stepped forward, reaching for Dad's arm. Remember what the therapist said about the therapist you invented? I pulled up another email. The one whose bills you've been charging to Dad's account? I called the office. They've never heard of him. The party guests had gone silent, watching the scene unfold. Serafina's perfectly manicured nails dug into Dad's sleeve. While we're talking about bills, I continued, let's discuss Mom's medical expenses. The ones you told Dad he was still paying off. I turned to Dad. Did you ever actually see those bills? They're handled automatically, he said slowly. Serafina set up the payments. Because there are no bills, Dad. I have proof from the hospital. Everything was paid in full before Mom died. The money's been going somewhere else. Enough. Serafina's voice cracked like a whip. Wyatt, she's clearly having another episode. We should. Should what? I stepped closer. Call the police? Like you did yesterday? Funny thing about that, they're very interested in the fraud complaints I filed this morning. Especially the part about you impersonating Dad to redirect his accounts. Dad pulled away from Serafina, his face ashen. What accounts? Show him, I told Jude. He connected the USB drive to the TV, pulling up security footage from the cafe. There was Serafina, clearly visible, using Dad's phone to access his banking app while he was in the bathroom. You don't understand, Serafina said, but her composure was cracking. I was protecting us, building a future. By stealing my college fund? By having my accounts frozen. The anger I'd been holding back finally broke through. By wearing my dead mother's jewelry while telling Dad I'm crazy? Wyatt, she turned to my father, desperate now. I can explain everything. The money's still there, Just what? Dad's voice was quiet, dangerous. Just stole from my daughter? Just lied about my late wife's medical bills? just tried to convince me our child was mentally ill. The necklace at Serafina's throat suddenly looked like a noose. She reached for the clasp with trembling fingers. "Keep it," I said coldly. "The police will want it as evidence anyway." The sound of sirens filtered through the party's stunned silence. Serafina's face went pale. "I did everything for us," she whispered, but she wasn't looking at Dad anymore. She was looking at me. "You have no idea what it's like to have nothing. To need to protect yourself." "You're right," I said. "I don't know what that's like. But I know what it's like to lose everything. And now, so will you." The police entered as Serafina sank into a chair, her perfect world crumbling around her. Dad moved to stand beside me, his hand finding mine for the first time in years. The necklace caught the light one last time as they led her away, diamonds sparkling like tears. Spring came early that year. I sat in Dad's garden, watching him struggle with Mom's old rose bushes. 3 months had passed since Serafina's arrest, but some wounds were still fresh. "You're doing it wrong," I said, moving to help him with the pruning shears. "Mom always cut at an angle, remember?" He handed me the tools without argument. We worked in comfortable silence until his phone buzzed. Another email from Serafina's lawyers. "They're offering a plea deal," he said, not looking up from the roses. "She'll return everything she took, plus interest." "In exchange for what?" "We dropped the additional fraud charges. Let her serve a shorter sentence." He pulled a worn envelope from his pocket. "She wrote you a letter." I stared at the envelope, dirt under my fingernails, remembering how Serafina's perfectly manicured hands had once held Mom's necklace. "Did you read it?" "No." "But her lawyer mentioned." He hesitated. "She grew up in foster care, aged out of the system with nothing. Apparently, she's been running similar schemes for years, always targeting widowers with college-aged kids." The letter felt heavier than paper should. "That doesn't make it okay." "No, it doesn't." Dad touched one of Mom's roses. "But it might help explain some things." My phone chimed an email notification. I'd been getting a lot of those lately, ever since the story broke. Local newspapers loved the drama. Wealthy widow's daughter exposes stepmother's fraud ring. The university had even featured me in their alumni newsletter after I won the emergency scholarship. "Jude asked me out," I said suddenly, surprising myself. "For coffee. Somewhere that isn't the café." Dad smiled, a real smile, like the ones from before. "Smart boy. Took him long enough. I haven't said yes yet. But you will." He gestured at the garden. "You're your mother's daughter. You never could resist fixing broken things." I looked down at Serafina's letter, still unopened. "Some things can't be fixed, Dad." "No," he agreed. "But they can be understood. Sometimes that's enough." Later that evening, I sat in my new apartment, a small studio I could afford with my reinstated college fund and cafe wages, and finally opened the letter. Serafina's elegant handwriting filled the page. "Dear Alara, you remind me so much of myself at your age. The determination, the need to protect what's yours. I saw it the moment we met, and it terrified me. I thought I could control you the way I controlled everything else in my life. I was wrong. I won't ask for forgiveness. What I did to you, to your father, to the memory of your mother, it's unforgivable. But I want you to know that the fear never goes away. The fear of losing everything, of returning to nothing. I thought having money would fix it. I was wrong about that too. You're stronger than I ever was. You fought for your family instead of trying to replace it. Keep fighting." Yes. I folded the letter carefully and reached for my phone. Jude's number was still up on the screen, waiting for my response about coffee. "Hey," I typed. "Tomorrow works. But not at our cafe. I know a better place." The garden center down the street had a small coffee shop. Mom used to take me there when I was little, letting me pick out seeds for our section of the garden. Dad had forgotten about it over the years, but I hadn't. Maybe it was time to plant something new. My phone buzzed again, Mira this time, asking if I was still coming to her graduation party next week. Then another text from Dad, found Mom's old gardening journal. "Want to help me restart her butterfly garden?" I looked around my small apartment, at the potted plants on every windowsill, at the framed photo of Mom and me in her garden, at the future I was finally building for myself. "Yes," I replied to both messages. Some things couldn't be fixed, but others could grow back stronger if you knew how to tend them. Mom had taught me that, long before Serafina tried to make me forget. I placed the letter in my desk drawer, next to the scholarship certificate and the cafe's security footage. Reminders, not of what I'd lost, but of what I'd fought to keep. Tomorrow, I'd plant roses with Dad. But tonight, I had some seeds of my own to sow.